Hello, welcome to your weekly astrological transits. This is Carrie, Astro Breeze on YouTube. And actually, I had to put this back one day because I want you to see what we're walking into. I think this is some of the most dynamic times that I've ever seen, looking at lots of charts and lots of skies for, I don't know, long time, 40, 50 years. Yeah. But I want to slow this down a little bit and share with you some really, really interesting astrology because this is markers of time. These are frequencies. The planets um, going round and round, going round and round the sun, moon going around the earth, earth, moon going around the sun, planets interacting with different speeds. These are all frequencies. Um, if if you think about your birthday, that's a once a year frequency, right? The sun that goes all the way, or the earth goes all the way around the sun. But this, from the way it looks from here, it seems like the sun goes around. But if I'm mistakenly say that, just know what I mean. So that's a frequency of like one per year, right? You have one birthday per year, so that is a frequency, and you have so many per your lifetime. Every month, we have the moon, it in its rotation around the earth. So we have, a month, right? Every month, every month, we have that moon going around. These are all frequencies. These all set up cycles, and these cycles are time, and they're markers of time, and they tell time. This is, I think, people, with the advancement of the astrological programs we have and how many people are getting into astrology and being able to use the software to run the math, um, to create the charts, and then you can kind of learn it in the retrospect. So you don't have to do a lot of, all the calculations by hand. I mean, you haven't for a while. I've had programs for a long time, different astrology programs, which I know a lot of people have also, but they're getting more sophisticated. People are learning how to use the tools better. And what it is applied math. And then we have to make some kind of reference of the symbology. And that's where really the astrology part of this comes in. But a true astrologer, you can't separate astronomy from astrology. And Gemini Brett has a great, that's the guy's name. It's his, of course, YouTube name, my YouTube name, Astro Breeze. I don't run around being called Astro Breeze. But anyway, this guy, Gemini Brett, has a great course. And I took it through Astrology Hub. I'm not sure if it's by itself. He might have it on his website or in his offerings, but it's called Astronomy for Astrologers, and it is a tremendous course. It's like a 6-week course. I mean, if you do it at his pace, and there's tests, and it's quite hard, but it's very cool because you really get some um, meat and potatoes with understanding this. You get the astronomy, you get to understand, and then you get the astrology, so you understand what's happening from that point of view. Fascinating and really, really, really good to know, to take. Anyway, I try to go over some of this, each time, when I show this chart. You just have to keep familiarizing yourself with what's going on because it is a bit complicated, but I try to simplify it. That being said, we're looking at the chart of yesterday, and we'll come into it in just a moment. Just to remind you, over here, like where it would be if this is a face of a clock, okay, if we're facing the clock, this would be, where my cursor is, where you see 00 Leo, right over here. This would be 9 o'clock, right? 9, 10, 11, 12 would be noon, and all the way around. Okay, so at 9 o'clock, this is if we draw a line cutting this chart in half, top to bottom, going all the way across, this is the horizon. So if we're like, step back, if you're looking at the screen or something, this is your horizon. So if this is the horizon line, we're going to say on the left here, looking at the screen, this is where the sun would rise. And then it goes up to the top, which would be noon up here, and then it would come down, and then it would set. And you can see, actually, I have it an hour later, but I have it where the sun just set below the horizon. I just want to do it because I wanted to even out the houses. Another thing about that another time, why they're different sizes. Another one, another time, another channel. But basically, just think about it as the warp of the Earth, the shape of the Earth. It's circular, right? It'd be different at the equator than at the pole. Okay, you can just think about that. It's like it's a shorter circle at the pole, longer circle at the equator, right? Okay, so that's why, but we'll get into that another time. So anyway, just see this is your horizon, and all the planets come up and rise here on the west or the eastern side on the left or eastern side, and they set on the right or western side. And above here would be south, and below would be north. Okay, just as reference, but we won't get into that too much. But just so you know, and where I'm at, the sun has just set. All right, but this is a day ago. Okay, anyway. So what I want you to notice though is yesterday at 6 p.m. Monday the 19th, look at the sun, 29 degrees, 53 minutes. And then the moon, this is now the moon, and the new moon was on Sunday. So that was, let's go back. There it is, just a hair off, right? I'm not going to get it perfected, but you see how close. Then the moon was right there at 28 degrees. That was the new moon when they were together. And then it moved off of that and then moved into Aquarius. Okay, so here started Sunday late. I just want to refresh you because I have to go over this a little bit because these times are unprecedented. We are going in very, very quickly. Lots of things happening at once. And world events, your life, it depends on how much you have at different degrees, but this is all very, very, very quick. Okay, so look at this here. So right now, as of 2 days ago, Sunday, we have, well, let's just pretend the moon is back. Let's just do it. Let's do it. Do it right. Bring it back to the moon. Okay, moon, they're in Capricorn. Now look at 1, 2, 3, 4, sun and moon, Mercury and Mars, all in Capricorn. Venus has just, slipped into Aquarius, but she was not too long ago, and I'm not going to bore you with going back and forth, but she was just there, and so we had this like late Sunday. This is 5 p.m. Eastern time, so we had this big lineup there in Capricorn. Now we're just going to go. Let me go by day now. Okay, so this was Sunday. So we had the sun, moon, and moon was the first to go. So reason I'm slowing down because all the planets are going to follow this pattern, and then they're all going to become over here. So moon now goes and crosses Venus. This is nice. Okay, Aquarius. This could be a little, or it was. Moon and Venus are always like nice, they're benefics, and they're in Aquarius. So this is maybe a little odd. This is like maybe starting to see things from a different angle, trying to feel things from a different point of view. Maybe feeling somebody else's pain, maybe thinking about feeling somebody else's pain, because Aquarian doesn't feel as much, but it thinks a lot. All right, now Venus is also getting very close to Pluto. Another thing is like, look, Venus is now in the midpoint right here, the moon, and the moon's going to go over it all. So coming into yesterday, Monday, moon went over Pluto. So it's just past Pluto. So moon going over Pluto. This is kind of like the mobster and the baby, This is like, this could be ill will. This could be depth. That could be, Pluto is like deep things. It's not just always, like a mobster, bad analogy, but it's just something that's deep, dark, unknown, unprecedented. I don't want to use that word. I keep using that word. It's, what would you say? Death, rebirth, transformation. That's what I'm looking for. It's transforming. Okay. So something depth transforming, but you kind of want to keep that away from a baby. A baby's just been transformed, right? We really don't need to have it. We need to have it nice, warm, fed, quiet, comfortable, cooing, right? And it's sort of creepy, it's like you want to protect the baby from plutonic types of things. You don't take it out, at 2 a.m. in the cold and things like that. Like, no. So anyway, that in the cold sign. So this is like kind of just interesting. Moon goes over Pluto. Now Venus, late Monday, Venus goes over Pluto. So this is now having to look at stuff, having to go in that dark doorway, having to, put on your self-defense helmet. Be ready to kick some ass. Be ready to tell somebody off, or how it is, not in a malicious or negative way. It's just like, hey, this is matter of fact, and you may not have been paying attention to this, but this is how it is, at least from my perspective. You can always say that this is from my point of view, from my vantage, and this is because this is Venus. This is from your point of view, and this is how the depth of the transformation is affecting you, and this is how I feel about it. This is a triple conjunction. Yesterday and coming into today, this was like, even though it's like a Dr. Spock kind of emotion, you're calm, cool, and collected, but the moon is still involved, but you're able to keep your cool. And Venus, I think with all this, you're able to put your ducks in a row. You're able to put order in. You're able to not over emote, because Aquarius is way more thinking. It's way more removed and sophisticated. And I think this is good with the moon there, because it is adding a little bit of feeling to the little bit of a hyper cerebral computer mode point of view. All right, that all being said, all these planets are going to follow the same routine. And I really just wanted to slow it down, because now as we move into today, you can see Venus is now passed over. It's done now. It's like, okay, I did my crap. I already said it. I said my piece. I listened to you. We made our truce. Let's move on. I don't want to belabor this. I got shit to do. Okay, so that's kind of how it is. And now the sun is changed today. The sun is now moving into Aquarius, and Mercury at the same time. Look at both of them. The sun first, though, it's 54, and then Mercury's right behind it. But the Mercury's is speeding up, and it's gonna pass the sun. It goes whenever you hear the word Kazemi, that is in reference to the sun. It means in the heart of. So, Mercury and the sun are Kazemi. Mercury is in the heart of the sun. The video that I just did before this one, I showed you on Solar Scope what it looked like, and you can see Mercury there behind the sun. It's passing the sun from the Earth point of view. So you would have Earth, and then you have sun, and then Mercury's on the other side of it. It's on the other side. You can't see it. And when Mercury's on that side of the sun from the Earth's point of view, it's called a superior conjunction. And it's like farther away. And it will soon be in inferior conjunction. It will soon be retrograde next month. And I'll show you that. And it'll be close to Earth. Anytime a planet is retrograde, it will be closer to Earth. Then it'll be on the side of the Earth. It'll be between us. Well, how do I say it? It depends on which planet, but it'll be on the Earth side rather than on the other side. Like I showed you on the other side of the sun. Okay. So if you look at that video, you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so we got all of this going over this mess here. So Pluto now, everybody's going to pile up now in Pluto. We had last week, we had this big pile up, big conjunction in big stellium, big pile up of conjuncted of all the inner planets in Capricorn. So just to remind you, what is it? And then they were all opposing one by one Jupiter. So what does that mean? Let me just recap that. What does that mean? That's part of astrology, is to translate this astronomy into what's going on. Very intense. Right now also we're getting, it's intense. It's intense cold. And if it's in the southern hemisphere, it's probably not as hot of a season, because we have this super lineup of cold planets. First Capricorn, then Aquarius, and they're all tight together. Some years, Mercury may not be that close to the sun. It could be the sign behind or in front of. So sometimes, like if Mercury were behind, more at the end of Sagittarius, in that fire sign, it may not be as cold of a winter. Venus, if it's not there also, if Venus is further away from the sun, if it's in, behind or way in front, it could be altering that, extreme planets in those extreme cold signs. Both Capricorn and Aquarius are the coldest planets. They're both ruled by Saturn. and it's cold. One of it's Mars is hot, Jupiter is hot, but those are cold. So we have all that cluster, they're tight together, and we have freaking cold weather. The whole United States, the whole world, we got these polar things. All this weather is very, very, very cold. And in Florida, I just froze. I'm like central Florida, and we had 30. It was 29 this morning. I cover things and bring things in. I try to grow accordingly, but you know, you can't totally. So there are a lot of things got bit by the frost. Cold, cold air. Cold, cold, cold. All right. Even the moon, like, look at that. So tonight, it was last night, but all these planets here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 planets here in cold signs. Okay, that being said, this is what we got happening now. Look, just from a few days ago, I just showed you when I started 2 days ago, right? They were all lined up in Capricorn. Now look how fast all of this, except Mars, going forward into Aquarius. So this is crazy. Okay, so what is this? What does this mean? We still have Saturn ruled, but we go from Capricorn structure, authority, rules to Aquarius. Rules are meant to be broken. We have to rewrite rules. We have to look at things from a different point of view. We have a whole different point of view. Okay, this is what what's happening, and all these are inner planets, so that's affecting all of us on a more personal level. We're looking at things from the world to our personal lives from different points of view, going from maybe structure and being made to do stuff to breaking it out of the mold a little bit, seeing things from a new light, maybe having new solutions to old problems. It's like, my day job being a natural physician, you cannot get well in the same environment you got sick in. It can't be done. You've got to change the environment. One of my things now is to help people create a home healing sanctuary. Even it's like, you can't move. It's like, I live in a house, I can't move. Well, you can change part of it. My part of that is like creating a little space to heal. It's like you got a space to exercise, you got a space to cook, a space to watch TV or whatever. You can have a space to heal. And, that would incorporate many things. So this is just a whole part of seeing it from a different point of view. And this is our world right now. So all of the inner planets are us personally. This is more in your face. Now the outer planets are all about to change as well. So it's like a teeter-totter of who can change more, quicker, faster, inner or outer planet. So interestingly, Pluto is the most stable. It changed first. It's in Aquarius. It's been there now. It's 3 degrees. When it retrograde, but it won't retrograde back into Capricorn. It's solid now in Aquarius, so it's there, and all the planets are going to pile up and meet some kind of transformation. Sun is next, then Mercury. Well, actually, Mercury is going to go ahead of the Sun, so Mercury will be there, and then the Sun, and then Mars. Mars is a holdout, which is interesting. Mars is exalted in Capricorn, so it kind of doesn't want to go. It's kind of like, if I have to, but the energy to move ahead is still just kind of Mars is still kind of. I think this is good because it's like not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's still holding on to some structure. It's like you still have to make use of structure. Without structure, without a plan, you can't move forward. So that drive and energy is still wrapped up in the plan. Don't throw the plan away. Just revise it. Revise parts of the weak parts. What's not working. That's the Aquarius stuff. That's all the inner Aquarius stuff. So the sun, your physical identity, what part of your ego and how you get your way and how you move through the world do you need to change and move? How, what part of that can you upgrade, move to a higher level, a higher, more efficient functioning? Mercury, how can you do the same with your thoughts, with your communications? Do we keep belaboring things and talking about it over and over, or monopolizing? Or do we move on into new realms? Do we explore new parts of our brain, new conversation, are we more aware of our impact on others, and their impact on us? Venus maybe having a bit more, within Aquarius, a bit more removed, uh, not so, it's like you can kind of care less one way or the other. It's like, well, it's fine either way. I can deal with it either way. I'm not going to get hung up this way or that. I want to just keep moving forward. It doesn't really matter. I could deal with it both ways. I'm fine. I want to just get on with stuff. I don't want to just keep it, be laboring. All of this, when it meets up Pluto, gets a little bit of that. It just kind of can change now. It's not so heavy. It's not so maudlin and dramatic. It's now removed because this is now the opposite sign of Leo, right? Leo is the drama. Leo on stage. Leo is, brings. I love Leo. I'm going to Leo rising. It brings the heart and warmth and drama and character. But there's sometimes a time where it's like enough. It gets over the top. It's like, all right, enough. You need to just chill and be like, that's not responsible, not the word, disciplined, be mature. There we go. You be mature. And with the Aquarian, it gets very mature, very upright, very focused, very also eclectic and out there, and can grab stuff out of the blue and thinking outside of the box. And again, that's from the other perspective, seeing things from a different point of view, because you're not so connected on it emotionally. You can let go of that. And with that being all let go, then you can be freer. It's like you don't have those holdings. That's the whole higher, cool part of Aquarius. So it is a fixed sign, so it is fixed in that. And then Pluto would be, I guess, the anchor of the fixedness, is what I'm going to give you that good thought. And then all of this group here moves over, the sun next. This is pretty much, there's a couple of other things that happen, but I want to slow down and look at this. Okay, so Mercury next, it went just past the sun. So for between today and tomorrow, we have Mercury going through the heart of the sun. They fuse. It's like Mercury, ideas, communication, sun, ego. Can you express what you want from a higher point of view? Can you bring something from your personality with class from a higher perspective, is it's going over the sun. Mercury goes back and forth over that. So that's not that uncommon. It does it 3 times a year. But here in Aquarius, with this whole stellium in Aquarius, and then Mercury heads right and bumps right into Pluto. So this is now maybe getting into the depths of your soul, into the depths of your personality, working out quirks, seeing some of your positive aspects and honing in on those, and trimming the fat, getting rid of stuff that's kind of not working. This is like where you can see it. It's right over inside of yourself. And if you have things at these exact degrees in certain areas, it's going to be more poignant for you. So anything would be late the sign before, I would say 27, 28 degrees, 29, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all those degrees are pretty much ringing strong right now. 5, because each planet's going to be marching more into Aquarius. All right, so that, and then we go Thursday. Sun is just about ready to bump into Pluto. Mercury just went over Pluto. Mercury's on its way toward deeper here. Thursday into Friday, the sun goes over Pluto. So here's the deep dive in the personality, over the depth of Pluto. So I just wanted to show you all to slow down, because again, all week, one then the other. First they were all conjunct, and then they were all opposing Jupiter, and now they're all going up into Pluto. Wow. All right, so let's just look at that. Let's just watch that a second, and see the sun passing there. And then now Mars has gone into Aquarius, and by Sunday, we have Aquarius stellium. It's going to feel like a totally different world. The ways things are going to be structured is going to be different. It is changing, and it's hard to say how. I can almost think, if we look at other things like, this is kind of like we're getting to a repeat of like what happened right before the Civil War. We really need to watch out and come together and not be manipulated by the media. The media is doing a really good job of dividing people and putting things that aren't true. And again, manipulating us. And we're still in this Neptunian spot. All right, look at, we're almost over. It's still, and then it's still going to be foggy, but this is where it's hard to get the truth. All right, so we can see Mars now about ready to, let's just look at that, and then I got to show you a couple other things. So dynamic right now. There it is. Okay, so next Tuesday, this is kind of the icky one. As we get into Tuesday, I just wanted to say this ahead of time. I would play kind of low on, like Monday, Tuesday, because we got two malefics together, Mars and Pluto. And, again, they're in Aquarius is kind of a removed. So it's easy to maybe be calloused, not understanding. Well, you can maybe be understanding, but not real caring, maybe more like, a lot of the compassion might be gone with different things being in this. And then Pluto and Mars are just, what Mars and Pluto, it's like two bad boys. It's two villains kind of, having lunch together. I hope that they're not, talking about and doing bad things. Hopefully the higher mindedness type of Aquarian energies can change that, but it's icky. It could be a funky day on the world stage, and then again, if we look at other countries and people that have things at like 3 degrees, it could be very interesting. So Tuesday, I would look, coming into this weekend, this whole time, but coming into the weekend and coming into Monday and Tuesday, by the time we meet up next week, we'll be able to report on that and see what different things have gone down. But that we could see this whole Aquarian energy setting in, and then bound by the two malefics, and then Mars is just going to go over that as well. One other thing about Aquarius is that it tends to be like a hive mind. It can get into the hive mind really quickly. This is the danger of it. It can get very militant and very Marxist in the way it can express that energy. All right, a couple of other things, and I got to go back. That was all of this, and that's not enough. Let's just go back now. All right, let's just go to Wednesday. We got a couple of other things going on. So Tuesday and Wednesday, we also have a sextile between Saturn and we're up here, Saturn, 27 degrees, and we looked at this before, and Uranus. Now, these things, these planets are going to change signs, so they're going to keep this sextile, this 60-degree energy, this 60-degree ease, kind of an ease and flow in their outer planets. So it's like there's this well, right now it's in feminine signs. Let me just say that. This is very interesting. So there is this sort of agreement with an inward or feminine, an inward pulling energy, a assimilating, would it be maybe more subjective, right? And then as it gets masculine or outward, it can get more objective. We could put it that way. But you could see here that this is these are feminine signs, and this is the last of this. These are going to change signs, and they will still keep this angle, at least between the two of these or the three of these, because they're all fairly slow moving, but they're going to move. All of them are going to change signs, and they'll be in masculine signs. So they're going to still have, this is what's interesting, they're going to still have that 60-degree angle, but they're going to go from like inner to outer. Well, what does that mean? Only time will tell. But if we think about, okay, Saturn, this dance, these, Saturn been here 2.5 years in Pisces. There's been a lot of confusion. There's been a lot of misrepresentation. There's been a lot of media lies. There's been a lot of bad and wrong information that Saturnian stuff in a Neptunian way. I mean, in that foggy way, Pisces, and then being right there, getting closer and closer to Neptune in its house of fog, mystery, illusion, disillusion. This has just led up to being fooled by weak-minded people or people that aren't bothering to try to get information, to find it, or the information being corrupted. So we have, like, on all three fronts, not easy to find the truth. Okay, that being said, there's still a little bit of a sadness with this on one level, because this is the last time these are going to be here. This, Neptune um, takes 165 years to go around. Last time we were right before the Civil War, in America's Civil War, 165 years ago. Now we're back here, but again, and this is kind of what's sort of seem to be pointing in that direction. They're going from inner, this kind of stewing, brewing, to outer manifestation. Don't like that on that level. And when these two move into Aries, there's been a consistent theme of war. Well, I don't know if we can rephrase that word, or if we can do it in a different way, or it can war against what really needs to be made war against, not fighting rich people's battles, but maybe getting the evil people that are not making it win-win for all rallied up, put it that way. Rounded up, rallied up, stopped, whatever. But that's subjective to everybody. You'll talk to a lot of people, and we've seen it from different perspectives. So what is the truth? I think this is part of this whole illusion, disillusion that this is representing. So Neptune, it's like the disillusion, illusion, fantasy, dreams in foggy Pisces with Saturn there. Saturn is, structure, but it's not in a strong place. It's in a foggy, misty area. So it's hard to have structure. It's hard to have rules. But there again, there's like certain rules were put in place, and now they did change. But do we all agree on that? How much of it needs to be changed? That's what all of this energy is. Okay, so this is really big. Okay, so this stuff is going down. Monday, actually, Neptune moon moves into Aries. So this is it, coming up to the end of the week. Neptune is moving into Aries. That's going to be a big deal. Whenever a planet changes signs, especially an outer planet, we've been waiting for these. This is going to be it. It's not going to go, it dipped its toe in a little bit in 2025, same with Saturn, and then they both retrograded, and now they're moving forward again. So we did get a little view of that, but Monday, Neptune will change signs. So that will be different. And this moon coming up, see, this moon now is going to cross the North Node. This can be kind of emotional. This could be hopefully compassionate. Hopefully, let's just put it that way. Hopefully this is a nice compassionate move, helping you to move forward, not only for you, but for the best of all, okay? But then as it goes forward, it's going to, it's going to go over Saturn and Neptune. And let's see what I wanted to show you. Let's see, hours. Okay, so moon, I want to see if the moon is going to go over. Let's just keep your eye down here on the moon. I want to see if the moon is going to clear, or if Neptune goes into that sign next. Keep watching that. I'm bringing them up here. Moon is almost there. Yeah, well, look at there. Okay, so the moon does usher Neptune in. Okay, so this is the last. Okay, so here on Friday. Okay, so Friday, the moon is in Pisces. It's gone over Saturn. It is in the midpoint. It says 8 a.m. in East Coast time, and then it will cross. The moon goes over Neptune, and it ushers. It's like it checks it out for the bigger planet. It's going to go in like, look, moon. I'm going to go check it out for you, sir. And it goes into Aries first, and it clears the way for Sir Neptune, kind of. Okay, so it goes in there first. So right now, this is the last time the moon. Let me go back over here. Put over here. The moon will be in Pisces, conjuncting Neptune and Saturn. The next time these will have changed signs, or definitely Neptune. Okay, so there's a little nostalgia, a little sadness, a little leaving some things behind, because this is the end. This is the end of the end before this stuff moves into Aries. Okay, so the moon is going there, and then Neptune goes in there, then it waits, and then Saturn will catch up and it will conjunct that next month. That's one of the big alignments we've been waiting for. Okay, let's see. We already said Mercury was in that Cazimi. We saw that. And then Mercury conjuncted Pluto. We talked about that. Let's see, Thursday and then Friday. A little bit of a dynamic day. Let me move this out of my way. What do we got on Friday? So we've got Mars at 29 degrees. So remember, your brain should be going, oh, Neptune's at 29. So we do have those two, and they are in they're sextile. So we have, you go Mars, 29 Capricorn. That's a feminine sign. Let's see, there's the next sign. That's one away, and then one more. So there we go. There's Neptune in 2 signs away. So that would be 60 degrees, right? 1, 2. Okay, so there it is. Mars, drive, energy, changing out of maybe form. It's changing from structure into something different. So Friday could be a very interesting day. And as Neptune has its last conversation in feminine signs, when it's in a feminine sign and it's exalted, and Neptune is there, right? It's in its home in Pisces. So both of them are happy in their place, and they're both going to change, right? They're both going to change. Very interesting. And then Mars moves into, let's go to hours. Almost, there it is. Mars moves into Aquarius. And there we have the 5-planet lineup in this sign. In Aquarius. It was like barely a week ago, and they were all in Capricorn. This flavor is gonna feel really different. And again, these are all the inner planets except for Pluto, and that's very personal. It's like how we think, how we feel, what we like. And then at that same time, the moon goes over here, and then the moon goes into Aries. There we go. And then let's get on our day. So yeah, very, very dynamic time. And then Saturday, well, let's go finish going on here. So this was Friday, Friday, 10 in the morning. This is all Friday in the morning. Okay, so there we go. Saturday in the morning, moon is halfway through Aries. I'm not even mentioning the stuff with Chiron and Eris and all this other, interesting asteroids. It's just already complicated enough. But then Monday, let's see, Sunday, we're here. And look at Neptune 29, 50, 59, 58. There's 59. Am I at days? Yeah. So there it is. It's even later in the day. So late Monday, let's just do it. Keep your eye on Neptune. Right here, it's 29:59. We'll see when it actually changes. There it is, right at 1 o'clock. Look at how nice. Sweet. 1 o'clock, nice and neat. 1 p.m. Monday. Neptune changes signs. Wow. And into Aries for a while. So it'll be interesting to watch the world events. I wonder what's going to happen on here. Do we have insurrection? Do we have Greenland? Do we have other parts? Do we have, is China doing things? This is like a very, very interesting, it could be on the world stage, definitely. And then again, as we're getting closer, we have this flavor now, right? I just talked about, and then we have the Mars Pluto conjunction. It's just right on the heels. So this is Monday's a day to watch. I would kind of lay low and try to Monday and Tuesday, try not to antagonize. If you don't have to bring up or bitch or make a case or something, you kind of, and if you do, you just got to go for it. You got to just be poignant and then kind of get in and get out. This could be gnarly. It's a gnarly day. Probably one of the better things, though, is that the moon is in Taurus. Let's just get back to moon energy a little bit. I mean, we've had the moon. We didn't even get to talk about that too much, but the moon going through the end of the zodiac in the beginning, it's like same as well. It had that changeover, the end of the new beginning. And then in Taurus, it's exalted. It likes to be there. So it's a little bit more like feel good, pamper yourself, pamper others, comfort food, chocolate, things that are nice. This is that kind of energy. At least, there's a little bit of that kind of energy in with this mix because this is testy. And then the moon, before we get back next week, it's also going to get closer and line up with Uranus. So that can be very interesting. We could have some really dynamic things. We also have some really interesting space weather. We have a lot, with these, whenever we have a lot of these close conjunctions where we have many planets together, it it can be a driving factor. And we are getting a massive amount of solar flares right now, massive, and they're big solar flares. And we could have some, we could have some power outages. We could have some disruptions in internet, in lots of things. Um, Again, we got this, a lot of Aquarian energy, which is the air. We have this Uranian energy. We have the moon there. This is also an earth sign. So, earthquakes as well, power outages. This is definitely things to consider with these lineups. So it's important to maybe just be aware of that. It's not like being afraid, but it's like, if it's freezing cold out, you're not going to go outside without a jacket. At least I hope not. So it's like just making sure that you have things, you have food on hand, you have water, you have ways of keeping warm, you have things to, for your pets, just a little kind of, energy, because we're in a testy time. We're in very, very difficult planetary alignments. And then all the planets are on like one half of the chart. So there's like a whole, there's one whole half that's not represented, and then we have another whole half that is, it's very, very interesting energies right now. So I think I've belabored this enough, but this is a very important week. I think it's important to sometimes unfold these things slowly as we go, because then it goes through really quick, and you kind of wonder what's going on. So, yeah, it's a big week. Lots of shocks, a lot of changes. So we got to keep doing our shadow work, keep protecting ourselves, protecting others, protecting our planet. Doing visual meditations, very, very important right now, for ourselves and our planet. All right, that's all I have for today. Check out the earlier video to look at the lineup of the planets in the sky using solar system scope. Really cool. I'll be using some more of those this coming year, trying to give you some other points of view to understand what we have going on around us. All right, thank you for listening. More to follow. Bye for now.